All right, welcome to the second presentation of Conscious Discipline. We're going to continue the 7 powers of a conscious adult. Today will be the power of acceptance and free will, and the main focus will be tantrums and frustration fits. My name is Hannah Vanderpool, and I am an early Headstart parent educator. And with me today is Jessica Jackson. She is also an early Headstart parent educator. Okay, so 7 powers of a conscious adult. Shared in last time's video was the power of perception and the power of unity. So if you have not already, please go watch that first video on the Parents as Teachers YouTube channel. But we'll go ahead and do a quick refresher. So the power of perception is the idea that no one can make you angry without your permission. So the goal here is to teach yourself and children to take responsibility for their own upset. And then the power of unity is that we're all in this together. So the goal here is to offer yourself compassion and others around you. And again, today we will go over the power of acceptance and free will. We're going to go over brain states again. Brain states are very important to understand for all topics around conscious discipline. So we'll refer to them throughout the presentation today, and you'll probably keep hearing them in future presentations. So let's just remember the red part of the brain. Down here is our survival state. And this is the need for safety. So adults, children, it's very physical reactions, hiding, fighting, throwing, so very physical. The emotional state, the blue state, a little bit further up, is the state where we need connection. And adults or children may look like talking back, sass, yelling, more verbal reactions. And then our frontal lobe is the executive state. This is the need for problem solving. So we're identifying emotions, we're self-regulating those emotions, we're able to take a step back, pause, take some breaths. So remember that children are mainly living in their survival state and emotional state. So they really need that sense of safety and connection. So how do we get to the executive state? So again, remember the brain state model. It's for adults and children. So an upset adult is a threat to a child's sense of safety. For example, if a child is throwing a tantrum or a fit, so the child is in their survival state, emotional state, and the adult reacts to the child's behavior in the same manner. So the adult is also in their survival state or emotional state. So the adult's yelling, the adult's throwing. Then neither the child or the adult can get to that higher level, the executive state. So an adult needs to be calm in order to help a child calm. So a great way to kind of not get triggered by your child's upset is some deep breaths. We may not always have time in the moment to take 3 deep breaths, but 1 breath is better than none. So deep breaths can calm us by shutting off the stress response. So by taking some breaths, this lets us respond to our child rather than reacting to their behavior. And it gives us the chance to get in that higher level of thinking, that executive state. So safekeeper is also important when we're talking about brain states. Remember that first state is the survival state, so that need for safety. So we want to implement safekeeper rituals. If children don't feel safe, then remember we can't move to higher levels. So it is the parent's job to keep the home and child safe, and then the child's job is to follow by help keeping it safe. And you can even have your child respond to you when they're older by saying, I promise to help be safe. So you can create these rituals by reminding your child you love them and you're keeping them safe when you're doing diaper changes, when you're getting dressed in the morning, even after reading a book, you can remind your child you're their safekeeper. So then once you've created that ritual, then you can start using it in everyday situations. For example, crossing the street. So as a parent, you would say, my job is to keep you safe. I need you to hold my hand while we cross the street. And then we can even move it into using the safekeeper during tantrums, power struggles, and even choice making. We can also use I love you rituals when we're talking about brain states. So here is an I love you ritual called Here's the Bunny. Remember, this is for connection. So in our emotional state, we are seeking connection. So again, you can use these I love you rituals after getting dressed in the morning, after changing a diaper, you can do a quick little connection with them. Just try and implement them throughout the day. So let's watch the video.
Here's the bunny with his ears so funny. Here's the hole in the ground. When a noise she hears, she picks up her ears and jumps in the hole in the ground. Squeeze, squeeze. All right, okay, let's do it the other way. Ready? Here's the bunny with his ears so funny. Here's the hole in the ground. When a noise she hears, she picks up her ears and jumps in the hole in the ground. Squeeze, squeeze. Okay, you want to do it? Here's the bunny with his ears so funny.
Okay, so in the video you could see that the adult shared eye contact, the adult was present with the child, the adult wasn't distracted by a phone or TV, they were touching hands, and they were being playful, so they were smiling and laughing together. This moment of connection only has to be a few minutes. Okay, so we're gonna start with the 7 powers of a conscious adult. So we are on the power of acceptance. So taking situations as they are, accepting the moment. So kind of do some reflection. Think about a time when your child had a tantrum or a fit. Did you accept it? Did you try and change it somehow? Stop it? How did it make you feel? Were you in public? Did it make you embarrassed, anxious? Did you get angry because of their behavior? So the power of acceptance is understanding that this tantrum is not about you, the adult. So try not to take it personally. This is about accepting the moment as it is and accepting the current emotional state that your child is in. We're not going to change it, but we're going to move through it. The power of free will. The idea is you can only change yourself. Here we want to learn and guide with our children rather than forcing or coercing them. So we want to help give our kids free will by offering choices, which we will get to later, rather than making them have the behavior we want by forcing them, tricking them, manipulating them.
All right, so a big part of our video today is going to be to learn about tantrums versus frustration fits, what's the difference, and what's the adult response depending on if it's a frustration or a tantrum. So first we're going to learn about tantrums. Tantrums are when the child is in their survival state. They are having a real meltdown with real tears. They're feeling incredibly overwhelmed or scared. They're unable to speak, so you're not going to hear any words. You're going to mostly see crying, screaming. They may try to hurt themselves by hitting or try to hurt others by hitting or kicking because they might not want to be touched. And it's this time that they're really inconsolable. So this is a real genuine meltdown, again, in their survival state where there is no words being expressed and they're mostly feeling overwhelm and fear. Now that is going to be different than a frustration fit. Okay, so a frustration fit is what happens when the world didn't go the way the child wanted. They didn't get what they wanted. They didn't get to do what they wanted. They just really didn't get their way. So their response is going to be different. They're not going to have the big emotional meltdown with real sobbing tears. Sometimes there might just be fake tears. But during a frustration fit, this child is able to still verbalize their wants. So they're moving, they're not in that survival state. They're moving up to their emotional state. So they are able to talk and they're able to tell you what they want or why they're upset that they didn't get their way. This can really lead to power struggles between the adult and the child. And if we, as the adult, give into the child during this time, it can last a lifetime if allowed, because the child this has become a learned behavior, and the child has learned, if I throw this frustration fit when things don't go my way and the parent or the adult gives in, then I just accomplished what I wanted. So we're going to talk a little bit about what the parent or what the adult response is going to be when it's either a tantrum or a frustration fit. But I do want to remind you that sometimes some things that parents do is over talk to their children. They give in, they give too many details, or they really take it personally when kids are struggling with their emotions. We'll talk a little bit about that later, but this is not something to take personally. All kids are struggling with emotional regulation. And okay, so composure and adult response. So I want you to remember that your state, your brain state, is going to dictate their brain state. So remember, they cannot get above or higher in their brain state than what the adult is. So if it's a true tantrum, a meltdown, your job as the adult is going to be to focus on calming, not to get triggered, not to overtalk, because they probably won't hear you anyway since they're so overwhelmed, and to give them space. And eventually you'll want to bring your child to your chest to help them calm and transfer some of your calm to them. It's called downloading calm. But we're not going to want to do that right away, because remember, there's still going to be times that they are overwhelmed, maybe pushing you away, hitting, kicking, inconsolable. So you're just going to let them have some space as you move through that meltdown with them. That is different than the adult response for a frustration fit. So remember, a frustration fit is because the world did not go the way the child wanted. You are going to use the DNA process, which we're going to tell you about here in the next few slides. We're going to give some space. We're going to use the words "you seem." Again, that's part of the DNA process. And we're going to also talk to you about positive choices and giving 2 choices to kids in frustration fits. Okay, so DNA, we're going to describe, name, and acknowledge what the child is wanting. Again, this is during frustration fits when the world didn't go the child's way. So you would describe it. What's the child doing? What's their body language? Just really think about one thing the child's doing that you can name. So you would say, Billy, it looks like you're crying. And you're going to name that emotion. That Billy, it looks like you're crying. You're feeling sad. I wonder if you're feeling sad. And then you're going to acknowledge why they're feeling that way. What was the outcome that they wanted? Because you were hoping to stay at the park. So again, name, describe, name, acknowledge. You're crying, Billy. You must be feeling sad. You really wanted to stay at the park, and now it's time to go. In fact, we have a video to show you of how this is done.
Stripes or pink, what works for you? Oh, you picked the stripes. You picked stripes, you made a choice. Oh, way to go. Your face is looking like this. Feel angry? You feel like I'm trying to make you change into regular clothes? Yeah. And you're just wanting to wear your PJs all day? I just thought that once we have some clothes on, we can play Legos, and if we want to play outside, we can be ready to go if we want to play outside. Nana Karen's gonna come over in a little bit. That would be fun to do. Yeah. Well, we got to change into something other than PJs if we want to play outside, right? Should we do it? No. We can do this funny like a Sophie book. Okay. You want to do undies first or clothing first?
Let's spread it out so I can see what I want.
Oh, yeah. Spread it out so you can see. Sophie, it's time to get dressed. Can we pretend your name's Sophie? Sophie, it's time to get dressed. Which undies would you like to wear? Pink or striped? What works for you? You chose stripes. We'll put them over here.
Okay, so that was actually a really good video of the DNA process and also what we're about to talk about, which is making choices. So remember, you're going to describe what the child's doing, name the emotion, and acknowledge that they are let down or what they were hoping that would happen and that didn't happen. So describe, name, acknowledge. Okay, well, we can also right now give you an example of a tantrum and how it looks a lot different than a frustration fit. You're going to see a child be overwhelmed with emotion, crying, hitting, and then the dad who is just allowing a safe space for the child and letting that child calm. Then eventually he will bring the baby to his chest.
I'll wait for a Polaroid picture in my wallet. I'm not gonna tear it, no, I'm not gonna spoil it. It's an unspoken heartbreak, a heartbroken handshake I'll take with me where I go. 3 words on the tip of my tongue, not to be spoken or sung or whispered to anyone till I scream I'm at the top of my lungs again. And though the sand may be washed by the sea, and the old will be lost in the new, the 4 will not wait for 3. 3 never waited for 2. Though you will not wait for me, I'll wait for you. Oh, oh, and oh, I'll wait for you. Oh, And and I'll wait for you.
Okay, so that was a little blurb of a longer video, but in that video, you did see a true tantrum, a meltdown. The little baby didn't have any clothes on. I don't know if they ripped them off or how that came about, but it was a definite meltdown where she was pushing the dad away, and then eventually she was able to come and calm with dad, but dad was accepting. Dad was okay, so that's the power of acceptance. He was accepting, this is the moment, this is the brain state she's in, and how am I going to try to remain calm myself to move her to a higher state?
Jessica, I also wanted to say, when she finally kind of calmed a little bit, that would have been the perfect opportunity for dad if they use those safekeeper rituals to let her know, I love you, I'm here to keep you safe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. That language is so important. I think we got a little bit mixed up on our slides, which is no big deal because here we are talking about choices. So in the first video with the mom and the little girl, she does go over DNA. So she does describe, name, and acknowledge what the little girl's feeling and why she's upset. But she also talks about choices. So the little girl did not want to get dressed. She wasn't ready for that yet. She was hoping to stay in her pajamas. So mom used the power of choice. So when you are giving choices, you want to get down on their level. You don't want to tower over them. You want to be able to make eye contact. You want to give logical and age-appropriate choices. And you want to think to yourself, what is it that I'm wanting my child to do? You're going to give 2 positive choices, which we'll talk a little bit about that in a minute. And if your child doesn't want either choice, then you're going to be the adult and have to step in and choose for them. But we'll talk about that as well. So, for example, in the video that you just saw, the mom gave the daughter the choice of what do you want to wear? Do you want to wear the stripes or do you want to wear the pink? Because ultimately the mom wants to get dressed. That's the goal, is to get the little girl dressed. So she's giving the little girl some options of, hey, you can decide what you wear, pink or stripes. So that's really what choice is. It's giving a little bit of power to the child so that they feel like they have some control. But ultimately it is what the adult is hoping for. And you're going to want to make sure that you use 2 positive choices. So we have some examples here of negative choices and positive choices. So let's pretend like there's some kids playing and the sister wants a turn playing with some of the toys. A negative choice would be, give your sister a turn playing, or I'm going to take the toys away. Well, that's not really a choice, and that has a negative in it. So a better way to do that, adding positives, would be you can choose to play with the blocks first or play with the cars first. And then whichever the child chooses, the blocks or the cars, is fine. We've given them that choice. And then the other option could be for the sibling. It's time to leave. You can either hold my hand or go to timeout when we get home. Again, that's got a negative to it. So you could say, it's time to leave. You can hold my hand or I can carry you to the car. Or for an older child, maybe you can skip or you can jump to the car. You get to decide and kind of make it a game. Of course, what we're really wanting is the child to move away from the park to the car and to get ready to go. So how they're going to get there is up to them. But really, the adult's giving the 2 choices that either adult's fine with. It's time to clean up. You can pick up your toys or have no snack. Again, that's a positive, or that's got a negative to it. So the positive would be, it's time to clean up. Which do you want to clean up first? Do you want to clean up your cars first or your blocks? Or you could say, okay, I can help you. Which do you want to do? Do you want to do the cars or the blocks? And then they choose the blocks. So mom's going to choose the cars to help clean up. And then it's time to eat. You can either eat all your food or go hungry. Again, that's got a negative. So a positive would be, hey, it's time to eat. You can either eat your carrots first or your sandwich first. You decide. One thing that Hannah and I wanted to make sure that you knew is this is a time that can really lead to power struggles if you don't have a little bit of flexibility. So let's say that you are giving your child the choice to clean up the blocks or the cars first. And they first choose the cars, but then they decide, no, actually, I want to choose the blocks. Okay, that's fine. You changed your mind. You want to clean up the blocks. Because again, the end goal is for them to clean up. So as long as that's what direction they're moving towards, then it's a win. And if the child says they don't want either of those choices, so they don't want the sandwich or the carrots, or they don't want to clean up the blocks or the cars, you continue to give them the choice. And you say, these are the choices. You can choose one. And if they don't make that choice, then you tell them, I'm going to make the choice for you. So let's say you're at the park and you say, do you want to hold my hand or do you want me to carry you? And the child doesn't respond or just continues to say no. Then that's when you would say, okay, I'll choose for you. And then you pick them up and carry them. But you want to try to give them the choice first so that they feel like they have a little bit of power in the situation.
Okay, so let's kind of wrap everything up that we learned today. So we focused on the 3 brain states. So that lower state, survival, then the emotional state to the executive state. So that survival state down here is the need for safety. So establishing a safekeeper routine or ritual would be great for this survival state. Remember, the survival state is where we have tantrums, so that flailing, kicking, hitting, screaming. We don't want to offer choices because remember, we don't want to talk too much because that can escalate the tantrum. And that's also where we're going to find the power of acceptance. I'm going to accept this moment. I'm going to help my child get through this tantrum. Then the emotional state, that's that need for connection. So using I love you rituals or any other kind of short little way that you can connect with your child when they're seeking that connection. We're also kind of in our frustration fits when we're in this state, and we can do a little bit more talking here. We can offer those 2 choices, give them that power of free will, rather than tricking them or manipulating them to do what we want. Remember, you cannot ask your child to be in a higher brain state than you are in. So remember, your state dictates their state. And I love that saying. So if you've made it to the end of our presentation today, thank you for joining us. We will continue again in March, and we will focus on the power of attention and love. Hope to see you then.
Yep. And if you have any questions or concerns about any of the information that we have gone over today, don't be afraid to reach out to your parent educator. They are a great resource of knowledge, and they will definitely help you through maybe some of the concerns you're having. All right.
Thanks. Bye.